Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's IEC webinar, EV Charging 101, How to Choose the Right Product for Your Customer, presented by Sonepar. Today's speaker is Corbin Davis, Director of Energy at Sonepar. But before we begin, I have a quick housekeeping items to go over. First, today's webinar will be recorded and available for you on demand. It'll be on our IEC website. Just wait 24 hours for that to show up. Secondly, a Q&A session will follow today's presentation. All questions will need to be entered into the question window near the bottom of your GoToWebinar screen. Please send them as you have them so that I have a stockpile of questions to ask for the Q&A, dedicated Q&A time at the end of the presentation. I promise I'm reading them. I'm going to try to answer everybody's questions. I'll let Corbin do it. But if we don't answer your questions, you might get a response from the Sonepar team. No one wants to hear from me though. They want to hear from the Sonepar team. So I'm going to quickly let Bob Leary take over. Bob, I'll turn it over to you right now.
Thanks, Drew. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Bob Leary. I am the National Account Manager with Sonepar. On behalf of our 16 operating companies, our 440 branches across the country, I want to thank you for sharing an hour of your day with us to learn more about EV charging. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Corbin Davis.
All right. Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you very much, Drew. We're excited to be with you all today, and everyone can, just to clarify, everyone can hear me, people can see me, we're all systems go.
We should be good.
Awesome. Let's dive into this. All right, well, thank you all for attending and spending time out of your day to hear about with us and to hear about EV charging. Today, I want to dive into like the whole market and the whole industry if I can, kind of give more of a crash course to what we've learned over being in this industry for 5 to 7 years now, and what has evolved. We're going to dive into a lot of what is like the overall perspective, like what is the investment for our communities, from our society, from the federal level. How is this direction, and how is this, how are the finances being allocated to encourage and increase EV adoption to change our electrical infrastructure? I mean, we're starting to see now they're trying to take out gas stoves and only have electric stoves. I like to cook. It's not the best to be able to control your heat when you're cooking and everything like that, but we're moving electric. This is a fact, and there's no way around this right now. And of course, the great thing is that right now, since it's so early, there's a lot of incentives to do it. So a lot of money is being allocated to help promote EV adoption in multiple areas. I live in California, Huntington Beach, actually, so. We have been involved with this for many years, but this is not a West Coast thing. This is not an East Coast thing. States all across the country, utility programs are allocating money for this movement. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into, what are my options? What does it look like for me to get myself involved into an EV charging project? What are my stations? What are my options here? And of course, okay, so now I have my material selections, but what does it look like for me as an installer? So what do I need to be prepared for, and what do I need to have to know up front as I'm getting involved in a project like this? Because of course there can be a lot of fear going on with new product categories and new projects. And so the great thing about Sonepar is that we can help support you along that process and along that journey. And trust me, you all, I'm going to try to keep this as less salesy as possible. But of course, you got to speak the good word every now and then. I wanted to show this slide, sustainability. Sustainability right now can be cut up into so many different ways. We want to have sustainable logistics, sustainable routes. We want to have, clean, green power infrastructure be sustainable. We want to change. It can be almost as simple as I don't want to have any more plastic straws. We want to put paper straws at our corporations. And so, even ourselves, Sonepar, we have sustainability goals across the country throughout all of our operating companies that we want to become more sustainable and reduce that footprint. So one of my story is corporations, cities, utilities they have electrification goals to essentially to provide EV charging stations, either for their employees, for their tenants, or their city vehicles. So now from all over, from the private sector and the public sector, this is all merging and clashing all right now. And it's great opportunities for us as we can get in there early and show the opportunity that is available, and how we can support our customers, our end users, and how we can essentially increase our product mix basket to also get into the EV charging spectrum as well. I want to show this as The Inflation Reduction Act, $1.2 trillion is being allocated for this whole movement. And again, this is not West Coast, East Coast, South. It's all over the country where this is happening too. So a couple more slides I want to show, kind of to give you some ideas of how different sectors and where different segments that they're allocating all this funding and money towards, and different programs that are available, and potentially how can we access those programs. And of course, how can Sonepar help you with those as well? I also want to show it's no coincidence that EVs, electric vehicles, and battery storage is becoming popular in a trend currently. They're synonymous. The same batteries that do large-scale battery storage for commercial industrial facilities, residential and utility applications, are the same battery chemistry inside of our cars. So as it gets more and more efficient, the batteries are going to be more and more efficient, and we're able to get more reserve power for battery storage, but also more range when it comes through for electric vehicles. So kind of give a table of contents, what we're going to dive into today. Who is Sonepar? Just to kind of, again, brief overview of who you're listening to, and how we can assist, create a little bit of market awareness and trends. What does it look like? How many? What are the how many registrations? How many EV registrants are there throughout different states? We'll try to dive into that a little bit today. We're going to go into the introduction to level 2s and level 3s. What are the level 2 products? And I will tell you, level 2s and fast chargers are apples to oranges of one another. So we're going to dive into both of those categories. What are the products? What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to get ahead of as I'm trying to bring this to my customers, and I'm going through this and trying to increase my business model to add EV charging stations to our basket of goods. We're going to touch this very briefly on the software side of things that's allocated for EV chargers, because it is a synonymous relationship. You have hardware, but how can you control that EV charging system? That's where the software comes in. How can I show drivers where my charging stations are? And also we're going to dive in briefly into battery storage. And the reason why is because capacity concerns, and to not have available electricity and power for fast chargers. And what is the answer to that? Is battery storage. So that's kind of why I mentioned before, it's a symbiotic relationship between the battery storage and the EV charging systems that are out there. Okay. Bear with me. This is the sales portion of the presentation describing who we are. Sonepar, we are a $31 billion company worldwide. We have many operating companies throughout the whole entire country. So no matter where you are, we have EV charging specialists all throughout the country, essentially, to support your needs. For whatever it is, to provide the support, the sales cycle, to help facilitate these projects, we have resources all across the country. We are the largest electrical distributor in the world, so that's what makes it great working for us, along with your EV charging projects, because we have a one-stop shop solution. We have the conduit, we have the wire, we have the switchgear, we have the EV chargers, we have the software. So essentially, what we've created is a one-stop shop here at Sonepar to help your goals. And as I mentioned, here's a little QR scan. I know we're very high tech, so if you're listening and you want to figure out, depending on where you are where you are located in the country, we have a local specialist in your area, and so scanning this code can give you that contact information. And as you see as well, you see my email address at the bottom right of these presentations. So feel free to send me an email too if you need any help or assistance, and I'm happy to answer any questions or get you the resources that you need to go down an EV charging station project with us. Very quick and brief. We have a full-scale energy department. We have full-on design aspects and engineering aspects that can help, show what size systems do we need? What size solar systems do we need? How many EV chargers do I need at certain facilities and sites for end users? What size battery storage? What are the economic analysis? What's my return on my investments? How much energy, how much am I saving investing into a solar project? We'll be able to create all of these resources for you and act as a resource to help facilitate getting into the full clean green energy landscape that is available to us. We also have EV charging commercial and fleet design. I'll talk about it a little bit later, where so if you have trucks, you have buses, obviously they have much larger battery systems than your normal everyday car that you drive to work. So at certain circumstances, there can be customers that say, hey, like Corbin, we've got a customer, I need to make sure that my buses are essentially are fully charged in a 4-hour time frame. Now I can rotate the routes for where we're trying to go in our county, essentially. So to have that ability to ensure and to have the security of Mr. Customer, you can provide this product, you can have this output, and now we can essentially know how long it's going to take to charge those vehicles, and we're often ready to go. And it's real quick. We also do the consulting aspect as well. So again, if it's end user customer, like, hey, we have, so if you have a customer, an end user based customer or a city type of customer where they go, we have these goals. How many charging stations do I need? Like, how many charging stations do I need in Maryland? How many charging stations do I need in my property in Texas? We're able to help facilitate that. We're help do the design to show, what is the recommended amount of chargers for your facilities, and to also reach your sustainability goals. All right, thank you for bearing with the sales process right there. Now let's dive into more of the meat of the presentation and more of the content. As I mentioned before, I want to show just more in depth, kind of more fragmented of what the money is that's allocated out there. So as we see, it's billions and millions of dollars that are being allocated to promote clean green projects. And EV charging falls within all of these different programs. So it's helping, it's wanting to have clean green energy infrastructure, solar, batteries, and that's including the EV charging side. Just to show some awareness, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant's $5 billion. Environmental and Climate Justice Block Grant, $3 billion. They have different programs. I want to show this one, like they have different programs for certain like verticals, certain industries. So just for like, this was a project that we got involved with where it was only schools that were K through 12 could receive 95% of funding for energy projects. So opportunities are great for all the programs that are out there. And just to show even more, $27 billion for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. For the tribal nations, there are specific programs. They have actually a lot more money than just 145.5 million for tribal nations, but all over the place. So here we go, EV charging. So the program now that the government has allocated to try to have reliable highway infrastructure across the country, because even like, I like to go hiking, snowboarding and stuff like that, and there has to be reliable charging corridors all throughout the states and the country for us to travel to mass adopt electrification. The NEVI program is a program that the government has allocated to do that. As we see in the top right, there's so many different states all through the country. It's not just certain states, like, one state's getting the majority of the funding. It's all being allocated through every state is being allocated NEVI funds. So this is happening right now. There's a quick little view of it. It's a minimum of 4 150 kilowatt fast chargers. They have to be within a 50-mile radius of each one. So one can be 20 miles and the next one can be 10 miles. And those type of projects will qualify. And again, we have resources to help you get in these type of projects and help manage this process for you. If you have interested customers, Sonepar can be a great resource to take on all that work and what is needed to be able to promote these type of projects. Adoption rate is accelerating. I mean, shoot, we had lofty EV charging goals. I mean, I think in 2040, you can't even get into the city of San Francisco if you're driving a gas car. So even with those type of estimates and those goals, it's even accelerating above that. So as we see, like our 2018 goals is being shattered by now. It's a whole new. It can't even go along that curve anymore. It's a whole new curve. How much faster adoption has been implemented throughout our country. So I wanted to show this as well, where it's like, how fast is it happening in my areas? Is it happening in my areas? Is it only happening in Texas and Florida and California? No, it's going faster than what even the experts are predicting. And here are the registrations per state. There's a cool little graph that I wanted to show, just kind of get an idea. So it's very, of course, the coasts have a little more, have a lot more EV registrations, than more mainland states. But the highest growth rates that are adopting EV is Oklahoma. Then the third highest growth rate of adopting EVs is Montana. So now it's like, just because there's a limited amount right here, of course, the growth is going to be more substantial, but there's adoption happening all over. Okay, so now I have a project. So now what does this project look like? Or if I'm trying to sell a project to a customer, how can I look into the funding and now the resources that is available for my project or for my customer? How can I minimize my customer's investment as much as possible so I can get to work? Sonepar can supply the material, of course. But of course, how do I promote this sale? Make it almost like a seamless and easy sales process for our customers. So The way to look at the funding aspects, as I mentioned before, there's so much federal funding, which is easy for us to kind of, I can just grab and portray that on a quick basis. But there's also state funding as well. So there's different layers where you can just stack. You can stack onto these type of projects. So with the federal funding, fantastic. States, or even states. So states will have their own programs for these type of projects. And then local. So we've done a couple of the largest projects with the city of Pasadena, so that's why I wanted to show that. The local fundings and local utilities will have rebate programs as well. So knowing about these and providing all of these to our customers can substantially reduce the customer's investment for these projects. And of course, when you more business, and Sonepar more business too, but can help promote these type of projects that are out there. And so on that note, salesy right here, bear with me, we will offer that rebate management for you, for your customers. Of course, we want to supply the material and support you. And so for any type of project that is out there, we'll have the resources and manage those rebates and grants to essentially take that off your plate, but also to help make sure the customers get paid for the rebates that they're expecting. Okay, EV charging stations, the hardware aspect. So now we're going to dive into more of the product and more of the what more does a project look like for me as I'm getting involved in these type of projects. So first, when we're talking with the customer is interested in an EV charger. Yes, fantastic. We got to start qualifying. We need to know what is the best solution for them. What charging speeds do they need? What are their charging goals? So it's like if I have a fleet, it's like I need a fast charger because I need this fleet charged in 2 to 3 hours. I have to get it out of here. So now, if the need of the customer is looking for fast charging speeds, then we kind of know what charging stations to start selecting. If it's like, hey, I just want to have an amenity, I just want to provide it for my tenants, I want to provide it for my employees. Now we know it's okay. Maybe it's more of a level 2, a slower charger, less cheaper, less expensive investment for a charging station project. But it's like you'll see too, if every customer is going to say, like, I want the fastest charger available at the lowest price. I mean, of course, every customer wants to have the fastest charger, but it's like, okay, well, if you want to have a 5-minute charge time, are you willing to spend $250,000 for one charger? So, and we've had to deal with that where it was, it's like everyone wants the main, coolest thing that's out there, but is it practical? And so that's kind of where we ask for the charging station, the customer, then we ask the customer, what is your budget? So the customer has a budget of $500,000. Boom, we know that we can start doing these type of projects. But the customer goes, all right, I don't want to spend more than $30,000. And it's like, okay, yeah, well then the fast charger option is probably not going to be the best solution. Let's stick with our level 2s where it's going to be around a $10,000 per charging station investment for our customers. And of course, rebate driven. Is it going to be? Are we going to focus on the rebates? Is the rebates the main driver of this project, or is it other reasons why we want to provide this project? So if it's rebate driven, the customer doesn't really concern themselves too much about the highest quality that is out there. So if it's rebate driven, it's kind of like I don't want to pay as much as possible. So that's where we can start go. Okay, now we can start finding less expensive options that are not going to have all the bells and whistles, because it's mainly all going to be a cash flow. So it's very important to start qualifying, start asking these qualifying questions to our customers to know what's going to be the best solution for us. Is the charging station going to be open to the public, or is it going to be private? There's codes that are coming out there now. A lot of them are mainly started in California, but they're being adopted throughout the country. So there's different designs of the charging station that with different features we have to add to those charging stations if they are going to be public. If it's going to be private, it's a whole different selection process, and that's where it feeds into the software. So if my customer needs software, if I have software, EV drivers can see on apps where my chargers are going to be. I can control power. I can essentially make revenue off the electricity for these charging stations. So there's many values in the software, but of course you got to pay for the gravy, right? So there's going to be more there's yearly plans with that, but you also can have like a 3 to 5 year plan that you just pay for it all up front within your project. What's my mounting type? Is it going to be is it going to be attached to the wall? Is it going to be a pedestal? So I got to think about, if it's attached to the wall, how am I going to bring wire and conduit to it if I can't trench, right? So there's many different aspects to kind of visualize as we're getting in this project. And so what we've learned too, it's the support. It's the level of support that is required. And again, this is not salesy, but it is in a way where that's where Sonepar can provide much value for you and for our end users, because we have that equity with the manufacturers, and so we have that large scale national worldwide partnerships with the manufacturers. And so if anything goes wrong, they're going to answer Sonepar's call to make sure those things get fixed. And so nothing goes wrong in business, right? Nothing. And so it's a matter of time before one of these things fail. And of course, it's so important to have support to get these things up and running again. So I'll tell you a story. I had a customer where this is thousands of charging stations, very big project. And they go, Corbin, hey, can you guys supply us these manufacturers? I go, I can't. I don't trust the support and the equity of those manufacturers. So unfortunately, I cannot do it. And like, wait a minute, you're not even gonna, you don't want this project? I was like, well, I can recommend these chargers because I trust support, for a multi-year contract that we're going to have that and provide that for you. So quickly they scrambled and they changed the whole spec to what we recommended. So the support aspect is very, very important. So that's where it can't just be a price battle and trying to find the cheapest charger that is out there, because support is very, very important. But of course, there's circumstances where sometimes the cheapest charger is what the customer wants. So level 2s. So level 2 charging stations, I'll go back to that. So I just kind of show the picture. These ones are more, as you can see, kind of more the pedestal, single, not much heavy duty equipment. These are more of the standard charging stations. So you're going to look at $800 to $14,000 per level 2. So level 2s are, again, it's a different product group essentially than a whole DC fast chargers. So the price range is going to be somewhere around there, depending on all the bells and whistles you want, or if it's going to be a straight flat residential charger. So some customers may just want light bulbs, right? I just want something that turns the light on. I just want something that's good to charge my car. On average, it's around 7 to 8 kilowatts, 7 to 10, 7 to 12, but mainly around 7 to 8. And those are going to require mainly a 2-pole 40 amp breaker per circuit, around a 6 red wire, so 6 hot, around a 10 neutral. Again, don't hold me to that, but just on average and in general. That is looking like the installation. So as you see, I'm not an electrician, I don't know, but it's not so much of an in-depth, complicated process electrically for these type of projects. And so with the mounting options that are available, pedestal, wall mount. So again, pedestal are mainly, so the difference is if I have a pedestal, I have a pole basically, or just a base. I'm putting a charging station on top of it, so I can trench and run wire down through the base and up through that charging station right there. But if it's going to be a wall mount, okay, well now it's a different situation here. So maybe I don't want to trench. You could feed it up, trench and feed it from the bottom. But mainly you see now what we see is, all right, we're going to basically just run wire from the main panel and run conduit and just run it against the walls and attach to it on the wall basically. So there's different options that we need to think about as we're going through these type of processes, and they have different access controls. So access control is very important, just to show why. So it's like, all right, I'm going to give a customer an EV charging station right here, and they're public, or it's a public-facing charger, no access control. So any person that maybe the charging stations are designed just for their people, just for their employees. So whoever's driving an EV, they can go there and start charging their car for free. Who's paying for that electricity? So that's why it's very important to have some type of access control so you're not giving away free electricity. I mean, one charge can be what, $20 to $40, well, it depends where you live, $15 to $40 just for charging your car just one session for a full charge. So it's very important. So software, okay, the access control with that, card access, RFID card, or many other cards where I have employees, but I only want my employees or certain employees, I want to give them card access. So they swipe the card, boom, now they can start charging their car. And then the example that I gave was plug and charge. So, this is very beneficial for, like, we have a casino project. Hey, I want to offer free charging for my customers. Why? Because they're going to go in there and gamble more and gamble longer while they're waiting for their car to be charged. So I want them to come. I don't want them to pay for electricity. So there's other values and, of course, strategies behind that. And so I mentioned before, there's a code that's going around that started in California. So called CTEP, California Type Equipment Program. I may have got that wrong, but regardless, it requires a screen and a credit card reader if it's public facing. So mainly the point of it, if it is that they want to show transparency and measurements for the customers. They want to show what the price is going to be. They want to show how much kW and how much kilowatt hours you're using per each charging station, for each charging session. So if it's public facing now in California, that's got to be code. So now I need to have a charging station that's equipped with that to pass the code. Because before this code was implemented, none of this information was transparent. So that's kind of why, the gas stations, when you charge your car, you see the prices, you see your total price, how much gallons they're using. So they're creating that with the charging stations as well to keep it more measured, but also more transparent. Okay, level 2 applications. So think long dwell time. So again, we're around 7 to 10 kilowatts. So it's going to take us 4 to 6 hours to charge our cars. So needs are going to be places where people are going to stay for a long duration of time. Hotels. What if you're driving an EV, you need to charge your car, and you're empty, and that hotel doesn't have a charging station. That one does. I need to stay at that hotel, right? Movie theaters, they're not as prominent as they were, recently, but still, people are going to be at movie theaters, and they're going to be charging their cars in ways where you can, of course, have software, make a revenue of electricity. Great opportunity there. Hospitals, people stay at hospitals, unfortunately, or better or worse, for a long time. Multi-unit dwellings, perfect opportunities. Residential applications, so of course they can charge their car while they live there. And if you have an apartment complex or a condominium, if you don't have charging stations there, so what message are you sending to potential tenants that have EVs? So great application there. Shopping centers. So we're kind of getting the common theme. Level 2's longer dwell time for our customers. Now, what is the product? What manufacturers are out there? What products are out there? So of course, this is not going to be. There's many manufacturers that are out there. And of course, now it's kind of a movement where everyone's trying to get in on the hardware side. So there are so many of these different manufacturers are popping up left and right. There's a lot out there, but we're going to highlight just keep it agnostic. Talk about a couple that we've done business with in the past. Wallbox. This is a great unit, and ChargePoint's got a great residential unit as well. It's around price point, like $500 to $1,200. And so if we're talking and trying to sell to a customer or a homeowner, all they really care about is, does it look good? Is the footprint small, and what's the price? So residential is mainly all a price play. It's like I said before, made the reference. It's a light bulb. I want a light. I want to see. I want to turn the light on. In the EV chargers, I just want to have something to charge my car while I'm at home. So residential, think of it more as a cost-effective but looking good option. That's where we see these options right here, very clean and great for applications like that. So I wanted to show this slide to show what is that new kind of trend that's going out there, and it's not here yet. It's one of those sexy things of these ideas of the technology, how it's increasing. It's called vehicle to grid. In California, our energy grid's all over the place. If it's really hot out, when people have to turn their HVACs on, the grid almost shuts down. Sparks are flying, there's blackouts. It's not good. So part of the solutions is to have a system where we're all electric, right? So I have my electric car, but that electric car can feed the power inside of that battery, go through the charging station itself. That charging station will feed the house power. It's very cool. So a lot of the grid strain right now is from 4 to 9 o'clock. Everyone comes home from work, starts cooking, lights come on, hang out with their families, and it strains the grid. Solar's through the day, so you can't have solar at nighttime, right? So all of a sudden the grid's got to go, shoot, I gotta power up and create all this power for this demand. It's very expensive for them. So vehicle to grid is that thing where is going to be a new technology. But again, that's where the charging station will have the vehicle to grid capability. Not here yet, but coming in the future. So more basic aspect of charging stations. This is a charging station. Let's just say box that a lot of manufacturers are utilizing, and it's a great solution. They can be reliable and they're very cost effective. And so these type of solutions run around $1,200 to $2,500. So this is an option too on the lower cost options that are out there. ABB, I talked about a lot of the support side. ABB provides great support on the fast charging side of it. They're one of the largest fast charging manufacturers in the world and had been in the industry for 10 to 15 years. So they have a great solution as well. Very clean. It looks sleek. And the price point's around $2,000 to $3,500 for a unit. Blink, formerly SEMA Connect, was bought recently by Blink. Many different options. They have a great selection of many different charging speeds that you're looking for on the level 2 side. As you can see right here, many different speeds and how fast you want these chargers to essentially charge the car. And of course, it comes with more of an increased cost depending on what selection you have, but great manufacturer. Their price point's around $3,500 to $10,000 for SEMA Connect unit. Siemens, Siemens has been around since 80, almost maybe 100 years probably. They have EV charging stations level 2. They do not have a screen, so this can be more of a solution where it's like, hey, it can be more of a cost play. I can put it more in a private area. That price point is going to be around $2,000 to $4,000. And again, I want to show this is the price point for the units. Also think on an installing basis. I need to add some material costs. Breakers, wire, conduit. There's going to be some trenching involved or wire runs involved as well. So we'll have to, of course, add that to our budgeting as we're doing these type of projects. BTC, very reliable. These things don't break. They've been around for, as I said, 10 to 15 years, and so they have a very great, clean, it's white, it's sleek, reliable unit. For price is going to be around $6,000. ChargePoint, I think a lot of us are familiar with ChargePoint. They've done a great job marketing on the level 2 side and create a big name brand that are out there. Great solution. We have a great relationship with them as well. Their price point is going to be around $9,000 to $15,000 to $14,000, and they have a solution where it's a hardware and a software combined. Have that one-stop solution with them as well. And Sonepar does as well have relationships with hardware and software providers, but we can also provide, bring in different products and solutions to have a software and a hardware option for our customers. And then here is the higher powered level 2s that are more designed for fleets. So 16 to 18 kilowatts. And as we can see here, there's the BTC range is around $6,000 to $7,000. ABB has $2,700 to $4,500. I can't really see. There's something blocking my screen on the ChargePoint one. I'm sorry, ChargePoint one. ChargePoint one is around $6,500 for fleets. And I do want to say, so it says 16 to 18 kilowatts, AC power. So the next couple slides, we're gonna get more in the DC fast charging world, the fast charging market. That's DC power. Okay, AC, DC. What's great band, right? But like, what's the difference when we're talking about charging stations? So AC, cars take DC power. So whenever there's an AC power going into a car, there's going to be a power loss because that power has got to be transmitted back into DC usable power. So there's going to be around a 10 to 20% power loss from it being converted to AC to DC. So even though we think it says 16 to 18 kilowatts, we're not actually providing 16 to 18 kilowatts. So you can probably assume around 20% less than what you're providing. And of course, that's why too, sales note right here, getting involved with Sonepar can help make sure that we have the right solutions and have the right outputs for specific vehicles if vehicles have critical time frames when they need to be charged and out the door and ready to go. Okay, here we go. Any questions for installation? This first one's huge. It's a very big one. As we see, we have these great fast charger goals, which we'll get into a little more about, hey, there's 50 kilowatts. There's 350 kilowatt fast chargers. That's a lot of power. Even level 2, 7 kilowatts, but if I want 20 chargers, 7 times 20, that adds up. And so we've seen so many times that customer wants to do the project, contractor wants to do the project, all the suppliers, we're all ready to go, great project. Oh wait, there's no capacity at the panel in the transformer. So now we can't even do the project. So one of the first steps as we're getting ready for an installation, what is my adequate spacing? How much power capacity do I have available for me? And of course, if I have to get a whole new transformer setup and have a little substation from the utility, what does that cost look like? It can be substantial. Grants programs do help cover all that stuff, but it's something we absolutely have to think about. And of course, what is that distance going to be? So as I'm trying to figure out, where am I going to put these charging stations at this facility? Where is the panel, right? So where's the panel? And of course, where that panel location is going to dictate how long my wire runs are going to be, how long is my trenching going to be. So it's going to be a long way, or if it's going to be a long way throughout the building, it's going to add a lot of cost, and customers may be turned off by that. Or if there's going to be a lot of trenching as well, that's expensive. So one of the things that we project we ran into is their cellular signal. So connections. So communication devices. The energy world is Internet of Things. Like it's essentially different machines and pieces talking to one another. So what is the communication protocol, right? Cellular signal is the most reliable. And so that's what we've realized. It's always, Ethernet works too, but if you Ethernet, that's going to be a little more product cost as well. So maybe the cellular is just a way to go to keep it easy. But we had a project with parking garages, and it was a couple of floors below ground. Okay, so how do we have charging stations that can still communicate and talk with one another? How can I make a revenue off of electricity? Cellular repeaters. So a great solution is cellular repeaters. So now we can put a cellular repeater on each floor until it gets to the open airspace where you can get cellular signal. That way you can just kind of repeat that cellular signal all the way down. Boom, we got a solution for it. Of course, voltage drop is going to be a thing. How long my wire runs, and also when is this project going to start construction? Because if it's a new construction project, okay, great, we have the charging station, we have the charging station work, but the charging station work is going to be done at the very last phase of that construction project. It's got to wait till the concrete is being laid down. Now it's time to do the EV chargers. So, of course, timing it timing it within your, what your project schedule looks like, and of course, Sonepar can help with that and manage those lead times for these type of products and these type of projects. All right. Now we're gonna get more into the fast chargers and the fast charger scale. So these ones right here, as I mentioned before, fast charger. So this is going to be the gas station model. That's kind of where we talked about, like, the federal system is allocating so much money for fast charging highway corridors. This is the way, because sometimes, like, if you're traveling on the highway, like, I don't have time 4 to 6 hours to charge my car at a level 2 charging station. So these are more the higher power, higher electrical infrastructure. So when it's coming to installation, of course, 350 kilowatts worth of power is a lot more different than 7 kilowatts worth of power. Wire, transformers, panels, and again, the capacity thing is a huge thing when it comes to these type of charging station projects. That's one of the main things that we need to look at. What is the capacity? We have the capacity to how many charging stations can I add depending on the capacity. So verticals, different customer types. Of course, fueling stations and highway corridors. This is the gas station model. This is the future. And of course, the stations off the highway exits, I mentioned that NEVI program. To qualify for that program, they have to be 1 mile off of the freeway. So of course, easily accessible for people traveling. Schools and school districts and school buses have a lot of mass adoptions with these. Of course, with company fleets, public sector fleets. And that goes with cities. Car dealerships now are a great vertical. If you have opportunities with car dealerships, a great opportunity. Just because they're going to start offering electric vehicles, how can they give test drives if they can't charge the dang thing? So car dealerships are great. So think more also too, like, if a customer, a business owner, how can I get more people to come to my store? How can I get people to know about my store? How can they stay longer? So fast chargers are a great solution for that. So now it's like, if I have a restaurant somewhere, I have a fast charger. Now that fast charger is going to show every EV driver on the apps that there's a charging station there. So you're creating marketing based upon these type of solutions right there. So in general, I said a little bit different investment. Like we said before, we're qualifying. These things can be expensive. So we got on general, it can be as small as a $15,000 investment, but as large as over a $230,000 investment. So of course, the range of the fast chargers in the DC level goes from 24 kilowatts all the way up to 350 kilowatts. So now we have like around a 5-minute charge time frame to 1 hour, and the less expensive ones around 15,000. Those are around a 2 to 3 hour charge time frame. So those are more for fleets, but I have a little bit of dwell time with my fleet, so I can get those up and running I don't have to spend a lot of money on the infrastructure for those type of for the faster chargers. In general, they're all pedestal mount. I'd say there's a wall unit. So outside the wall unit, you can almost say 80% of these projects, maybe 90, close to 90%, are going to be pedestal mounted. Not as much wall mounted. Level 2 is a different story. It's more balanced. And again, Access control is huge. That's a lot of power being drawn, and that's going to be very expensive for someone that doesn't, for a building owner or for a customer that doesn't have the right access control to control those chargers, basically. Software, and that's where software is usually pretty highly recommended for every single fast charging project, unless it's going to be for a fleet or for like a city, because they have their own like gated communities and gated like areas where those buses and trucks are going to be hanging out and essentially dwelling during the nighttime. So that's those type of situations you can almost have. You don't really need so much limited access, but it's highly recommended, even maybe something more of like a card access. All right, something that's confusing, and it's still, we scratch our heads still at this, is the connector standards. So in the industry, it's still fragmented. So there's still different vehicles can take certain type of charging connectors, different cables essentially. And so the charging connector standards is a CCS connector and a CHAdeMO connector. And Teslas they still have their own things. They're trying to essentially, of course, sell more Teslas. NACS, Tesla is working with, Elon Musk is working with the, with the federal government on having, let's just say policies where they want to start opening up those Tesla charging stations to the mass public. However, it's still not, it's still not fully, let's say, done quite yet on which charging stations are going to be able to have that. So as of currently, mainly Tesla charging stations can only charge Teslas. So of course, there's a little fragmentation. We see all these Tesla charging stations, but if you drive a Ford or a Porsche, you can't charge them. Teslas now are starting to have certain other models start to be able to have adapters to have a CCS connector. But before I get into that, okay, so CHAdeMO connector was in the past mainly Asian and Tesla, or Asian car manufacturers and Teslas. CCS in the past was North American and European charging standards. Again, like, why does this matter, right? Like, it should all be one. That's above my pay grade, I guess. But so now, so the grants and the funding and all the money that's being allocated is mainly allocated for just CCS connectors. So we're starting to see an adoption where slowly it's going to be mass adopted for CCS. So that's great, right? Now we have all these fragments, because then when we have a fast charging station, but in the past we've had to have one connector be a CCS and one connector be CHAdeMO. So fleets, of course, they know they don't need different connector types; they can just have one. But now in the future, now we're starting to see that the CCS connectors are becoming more of the mainstream going forward. But again, there's still going to be electric cars out there that take the CHAdeMO and the NACS with the Asian car manufacturers and the Tesla. So it's kind of a dance there. So diving into the manufacturer side of things, ABB, great fast charger manufacturer. They've been the largest in the world. BTC Power is a great fast charger manufacturer as well. They've been around for, a lot of these manufacturers have been around for 10 to 15 years in this space. So very reliable, very credible for these type of projects, and both give great support. ChargePoint, I mean, they're one of the national name brands, a great manufacturer, a very large company, global company. And of course, Tesla's are, so it's, Tesla's mainly like to only do business with themselves. So, on the contractor distributor side, we can help support, a lot of we have other solutions around that we can get involved in these type of projects. So this is the main wall box fast charger. As you can see, they are pretty big and pretty heavy. So this is around 24 kilowatts. So we have this price point is around $15,000 to $20,000. And I mentioned this is the one that has that 2 to 3 hour charge time frame. Again, DC, so we know we're going to be getting around 24 kilowatts. But it's still important to know what type of trucks or buses that we're trying to charge. We know that there's not going to be no power, there's no capacity issues or any limitations inside those vehicles' batteries, so they can't take a full amount of charge. That does exist. This product was the staple in the fast charging world, 50 kilowatts to 60 kilowatts. So this was the main fast charger over the last couple of years. Now technology is starting to increase, but this is still a great unit. Great ranges. So this range is like 30 minutes to 1 hour. It's still inexpensive. So it's around $40,000 to $50,000. This is my favorite unit, because this is one of the first that is actually a dual. So before it was, I think I'm going to go back a slide. There's 2 connectors here, but that's one of them is for CCS and one of them is for shadow mode, so they can have multiple cars charge that. But like here, you can have 2 cars pull up, and so in this example right here, at 184, you get 2 cars pull up, and now that power sharing. So each car receives 90 kilowatt worth of power, and if it's 1 car, they're going to receive 180 kilowatts worth of power. This is a newer technology that is out there. So very cool. And so it ranges in the time frames from it's 120 kilowatt. As you can see, it's all modular basic. So depending how fast you want it, you can swap out the power modules in and out. So the 124 is going to be around $85,000 to $90,000, and the 184 is going to be around $105,000 to $110,000. And this is more on the fleet, the heavy duty charging infrastructure. I'll show the pantograph ones that basically just come down and just connect to the buses on top of the steel. No one's got to get out of the car and starts giving 450 kilowatts worth of power, which is a pretty cool solution. We've had a lot of great success with this product. And this is mainly for buses. And a lot of the great value is 150 kilowatts, but sequential charging. So you can have up to 3 charging boxes connect to 1 power cabinet. So of course, with this amount of high power infrastructure, a lot of power. So if it's high powered infrastructure, we may need some power cabinets available too to be able to provide the amount of power for these charging stations. So 3 buses can hook up to 1 power cabinet. So basically, you hook all 3 up, and it's the first bus is going to get the 150 kilowatts, then the second bus will get 150 kilowatts, and then the third. So now you don't have to hire someone to always take out the connectors and put them into different buses. So it's a very great solution. Pantograph this is unique, special project type basis, not that mainstream, but I just wanted to show this to create awareness that this definitely does exist. And here are the big boys. Up to 350 kilowatts worth of power. So we have to have power cabinets for this amount of power. And of course, this is where it's going to be a lot more expensive for these type of units. I mean, this price point would be around $230,000. The 180 sector, you don't have to have a power cabinet, which is beneficial for that. But if we're getting really up into the point of like the high powered, like 350, we are going to need a power cabinet. And again, that's where we can get instant charging. So 5 to 15 minute charging time. All right, challenges. Mention as well that the electrical capacity. So that capacity levels can dictate what we can do, what type of charging products we can offer, and of course, if we can still even have a project. And that's where it comes down to making sure I'm selecting the right charger that has the right power output for my customers' goals. That aligns with the capacity issues, but also, of course, hey, so some cars can't take 350 kilowatts worth of power. Their batteries just can't take it. So it's important to know if we're doing fleets or other type of, let's say city type projects, what are our vehicles that we're allocating this charger to? There's a problem if also a customer spends an extra $100,000 and those vehicles can't take that high charge. Like, why did I spend an extra $100,000? What's going on here? I want that money. So it's a big thing to think about. And of course, the manufacturer and software fits. What is the best fit for this project? What is the charging speed? What type of support am I going to get? And we went over those questions before. Like, what are the criteria that I need? And again, so like I mentioned before, the support is everything too. Because all of a sudden, if I had the charging station and I just selected a cheap charging station and those things fail, now myself and my company look bad. Because I can't get those things back up and running, and now I have an angry customer. There is a challenge out there too where end users are purchasing charging stations direct and not getting involved with electrical contractors. They think that the electrical contractor's work is only just affiliated with the electrical portion of the job. That's why it's important to get upfront. If we're talking about the end user, we also can supply the charging stations as well. Me, the electrical contractor, I absolutely can supply those charging stations and do that work through Sonepar, of course. But it's a way to mitigate that aspect where we're not just falling into the electrical portion. We can do the EV charging aspect. I'm going to start moving a little more quicker now as we want to leave some time for some questions and answers. Software. So as you see, here's a diagram of what a dashboard would look like. So again, the values are, you can make revenue from the electricity. You can control you can control prices, right? You can control who is also using that charging station. I can give access to a certain amount of people. Let's say if I want to do energy management, I want to essentially have my energy be scaled back from around 4 to 9 o'clock. Now I can bring my power down, so I'm not having high increased peak prices where I'm going to be spending a lot more on power. Of course, marketing. And so the marketing aspect is there's apps, right? There's apps that people will have to download to find these charging stations, and your charging station with the software capabilities will be transparent on these apps. You see, the customers and the drivers put their credit cards in there and start able to provide the power and pay that way, essentially. As I mentioned, Sonepar, we do the full-scale battery solution. I want to show this is what a battery system looks like, more in depth, as we can see. So this is essentially where I don't have power capacity, or I'm getting killed with if I get a new substation, or I'm getting killed with energy costs. How can I control my power? How can I demand power at cheaper time rates? Battery storage is the solution for these power capacity. But that is an issue. Sonepar, we do have a solution for you along the supply chain partnership aspect. Great solution. And of course, how does it work? Just wanted to show real quick. Internet of Things again, right? We have a control center in the battery. We have to put a smart meter at the panel. And there's communication that tells the battery when to store or when to release. And again, is ready to wrap it up. Gotta throw some sales aspect in there. Sonepar, we have all the resources for you to support this type of industry and these type of projects. Going into these EV charging projects, we can create a lot of confidence for you to ensure that I have an experienced partner, and I have the support from the electrical and the EV charging side of this project, so that I know that I'm covered. So important to have that type of support. We're able to assist with helping find what different manufacturer fits are the right project for you. Make the correct recommendations. As I showed before, we have a direct EV charging specialist in your local market able to help. They can do site visits with you. Make sure that we can make yourself and our customers very comfortable investing into an EV charging project. We have the consulting, the grant and rebate writing. So if it's a grant or rebate writing project, we can offer those services for you and for your customers. And most important thing is that support. You know, we have that manufacturer backing, we have your backing. That if anything does happen, we'll answer your call, and we're going to get those things back up and running if anything does happen. And more importantly, too, it's one-stop shop, one point of contact. So almost I can go to Sonepar, and I can get everything that I need within these type of projects. And so again, here's that great QR code. If you're looking for who's your best resource in your local market, scan this QR code, and we'll make sure they give a point of contact. Again, my email address is below. If you need anything or have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to support. And then Drew and Bob, that ends the presentation. If there's any questions, and thank you all again for spending time with us today.
Yeah, Corbin, if there are any questions, we've had dozens of questions come in. So thank you so much. I know it's a 50-minute sprint. You're going to have to go a little bit longer because we've got a lot of questions. Everyone, thank you for sending them in. We're going to try to answer them as quick as possible. And Corbin, if you just want to leave it on that last slide so people have more of a chance to scan that QR code if you want. But as we wait, again, everyone, we're going to try to answer all your questions. So number one, the one I selected, there's even more questions coming in. Let's see. I know you had just answered this, I believe, but what brands would you recommend for residential production builder programs? That comes from Kurt.
It would depend. If it's going to be if it's a multi-unit dwelling and every unit is not going to have an EV charger, then that's going to be a different decision process. So if there's going to be like let's say like every unit has their own EV charger, that's going to be a different criteria compared to just more of a multi-unit dwelling. So if it's as I showed the slides before, those more expensive units, again, the quality is going to be a lot higher. It's going to be a lot more of what I mean by quality is there's going to be a lot more people touching those things, right? So you need heavier duty equipment to withstand all the wear and tear. If it's going to be per each individual unit, that first slide that I showed that had a wall box and charge point, they have a great solution. The manufacturers have been around for a long time. So if it's more for individual units, we would recommend those ones, among others too, as well. But yeah, those are great solutions.
All right, great. This question comes in from Gary. With these future charging stations that will be like gas stations, will they be all fast charging, 5 minutes? Or will people have to wait an hour to charge, and will the cost be comparable to current gas prices? I know you touched on this earlier.
Gas price, of course, depending on where you're located on the pricing side of it, it's going to be 50 to 75% less every fill up compared to gas, the electricity aspect. So immediately you're saving money on your fuel pricing, transmitting to electric cars. So the NEVI program, so kind of like the NEVI program is kind of a great barometer for that question as well. So like, what is the most mass adopted fast charger going to be out there? The minimum is 150 kilowatts. So that price point is going to be, 120,000, 115,000 per unit. So you don't have to have that 350 where it's 200K plus for a unit. So the 200K plus unit, that's going to be around the 5-minute range. But the 150, which is more, it's more easier. It's not as much power equipment and not as much strain on the grid. That one will charge your car between a 5 to 15-minute window, depending on where you are at with your fuel tank.
All right. This question comes in from Greg, a different Greg though. I am a certified EvoCharge EV charging station installer, Arnie's Electric. Did I see that y'all support them?
Do we support them is the question?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. That is where we wanted to design, and we want to support customers that are investing into the EV, contractors that are investing into this industry, and provide all of those resources for you. So absolutely, as I mentioned with the hardware, the software, and helping out with those rebates and incentives that are out there, we're fully willing to support you. And again, we are not Sonepar, we're not contractors at all. So we fall behind the contractors in our measures of support. So there's no confusion there. We're only here to support you. So that the question is 1,000% absolutely.
All right, great. I know we've got a lot of questions coming in about contacting Corbin directly. As a reminder, his email is there on the bottom. It's cdavis@onesourcedist.com. But here's a question from Kasparis. Does the funding rebate programs are available just for EVCSE that are manufactured in the US? And is that just for DC chargers or AC as well?
It's a great question. It depends what program we're looking into. The federal programs, yes, they have to be made in the US. And of course, that increases more cost as well for it. And the ironic thing is, the government hasn't given the full 1,000% requirements to the manufacturers of what they need to be fully approved as the Made in America product. It's actually happening right now, to be honest with you, as we're having our negotiations with the manufacturers. And so if it's state or local, they don't have strict requirements. So if it's a local rebate or a statewide rebate, it's not a Made in America type of charge. There's level 2 rebates out there for. So I'll say mainly in the federal level. Just say in general, it's for fast chargers. You can add level 2s, but it's primarily for fast chargers. The states and the local ones is a hybrid. It's mixed. So you can add level 2s and the fast chargers. And from what we've seen so far currently, as we know, this market changes every single day. There's no Made in America requirements for the state and the local programs.
All right, I'm trying to keep all the questions relevant. We're getting a lot coming in. From Patrick, I know you were mentioning rebates, Corbin. So Patrick asked, are they giving rebates for upgrading existing electrical services for residential customers that doesn't have adequate power or capacity to power the charging station?
Great question. That one I don't want to give you a cop-out answer, but it's so variable, depends where the project is. There's certain, like even in what we've seen is certain utilities will have that. So it's called make ready. So we'll be able to provide the investment. Some utilities will cover all of that. They'll cover all the conduit, the wire, the electrical needs for it, the capacity issues, but a lot of them won't. But it really depends on where that project is located. So, and the sales point would be working with Sonepar, we can find that out for you.
All right, perfect. And I know we've got only just a minute or two left, so we can keep it short on my end. So I'm sorry, everyone. But Sonepar has let me know that they are very interested in answering your questions. So you might receive an answer to your question through your email in the next couple of days. Here comes another one from a different Patrick. what installation training and certifications are available? And secondly, where can they be found / accessed?
Yeah, very good question. That depends on the level of partnership and of course the experience and qualifications for the manufacturer side of things. And also it's the thing is not everyone can just raise their hand and they're going to say, well, you can get certified, but it's more selective. So it definitely is a selective process on which manufacturer to try to get certified from. There's not, as of right now, there's not really some like basic, like to do EV charging projects, you have to be certified. We haven't really seen that currently right now. The federal levels are getting more down that road, and that's going to be more based on, let's say, the equity in the industry for, let's just say, manufacturers to support. Currently, as of right now.
All right, perfect. And with that, on my watch, it says it's 101. So to Lee, Christopher, Dave, Nikki, Jason, everyone else that has been asking questions, we'll hopefully be able to answer them in the near future. But Corbin, thank you so much for, I know it's like an hour sprint, so we really appreciate it. You're the best, man. This is great. I think, in my personal opinion, there is nothing more exciting happening right now in terms of infrastructure than all of these charging stations, the power grid being built up. It is so exciting, and we've been having a lot of webcasts with IEC based on that. So thank you so much. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and available for on demand. So you will receive an email with a link to this recording within the next 24 to 48 hours, or you can visit iec.com and check out all of our past webinars. This one will be added very shortly. Corbin, was there any last thing you'd like to say to all the listeners?
I mean, I'll just say, well, there's one thing I will say. Yeah, no, thank you all again for attending. And I think as Drew alluded to, this is all happening right now. We're on the ground floor of it. So it's really exciting to be part of this, and also to get ahead of the game as it's now future developing. So thank you all for the like minds, and thank you all for attending.
All right, perfect. Well, from all of us at IEC, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.